Back in the 1986, one of the largest disasters in the history of NASA happened when 73 seconds after launch, their pride and joy, the famous Challenger shuttle, exploded, killing all 7 astronauts on board. The investigation discovered a culture of silence and conformity. It turned out that the engineers had data showing the shuttle's O-rings could fall in cold weather. The question is why? Why didn't anyone stop the launch? And the answer is groupthink, a phenomenon where a team prioritizes harmony and consensus over critical thinking and honest debate, leading to poor decisions and, obviously in this instance, overlooked risks. And here's the problem. Groupthink feels comfortable, but it silently kills innovation, it kills better decisions and healthy team dynamics. Today, we're going to unpack why groupthink happens, why it's so dangerous for managers, and most importantly, the practical ways to spot it early, address it effectively, and prevent it before it creeps into your team's culture. My name is Marcel, I'm a chartered manager, and in the last 20 years as a manager, I have seen and often been a victim of groupthink. Today, I want to share my experiences and offer some easy fixes to it. So firstly, let's start. What is groupthink? Well, at its core, groupthink is when your team prioritizes harmony over critical thinking. It's when people agree because it's way easier than challenging the majority. It's times when ideas go untested because no one wants to rock the boat. It's time when decisions get made fast but not necessarily well. On the surface, it looks like a teamwork, but underneath, your team is quietly avoiding tension, and that avoidance almost always leads to worse outcomes. Now, groupthink doesn't happen because people are lazy or incompetent. It happens because of how humans are wired and how teams operate. Let's break down the most common triggers. The first one is desire for harmony. Naturally, teams like being cohesive. Disagreement feels uncomfortable, so people avoid it. Number 2 is fear of judgment. People worry they'll sound stupid if they challenge the group or senior leaders, and we have all been there. Number 3 is structure pressure. If the boss speaks first, everyone tends to follow, especially junior members. Number 4 is time pressure. Tight deadlines often push teams into quick agreements just to move forward. And number 5 is overconfidence. High-performing teams can believe they are just too good to fail, leading them to overlook potential problems. That is very typical in a corporate setup. And if it sounds familiar, then there's a good reason for it. These dynamics show up in almost every team at some point. The key isn't to eliminate them entirely, but to manage them deliberately. Groupthink might seem harmless at first, but it compounds over time. And here's why it's so dangerous. Bad decisions get locked in because alternatives were never explored. Innovation stalls because no one suggests bold ideas when the safe ones always win. That's especially dangerous with new projects, and blind spots grow. Risks get ignored until they become crises. In short, groupthink creates the illusion of progress while silently eroding the team's ability to think critically and act effectively. But how do we fix it? Before you can fix groupthink, you need to recognize the signs. And I must stress that most of them are almost impossible to spot unless we look for them. My advice is to be constantly on the lookout, as much for signs of them in others, but also in ourselves. In my experience, there are 5 red flags to watch for. Meetings where everyone agrees instantly. No debate, no pushbacks. The same voices dominate every discussion. New ideas rarely make it past the brainstorming stage. People check out when decisions are being made, and feedback loops vanish. Nobody's challenging assumptions. If any of these feel familiar, it's time to take action. Now, how it looks will vary, and I actually advise against hitting it head on. I know that sometimes you'll catch groupthink in the moment, in the act. When that happens, you don't need to blow up the meeting, but you do need to pause and reset the dynamic. And here's what really works. Invite opposing views. Say something like, I'd love to hear any counter arguments before we move forward. Ask open questions instead of, does everyone agree? Try, what are we missing? What's the worst case scenario? Especially, what are we missing is a good one, as it just allows for voicing opposite opinions without anyone looking like a nitpicking critic. Acknowledge uncertainty. Remind your team it is okay not to have all the answers right now. This opens up the gate for additional opinions later. These small interventions can shift the conversation without undermining authority or slowing the team down. Now, addressing groupthink in the moment is good, but preventing it is entirely better. And this must be preceded with quite a lot of amount of preparation. The good news here is that laying these foundations before any meeting or projects benefit other areas, so it's a good idea to use them frequently enough for them to become a second nature. Firstly, set the expectations for debate. Tell your team up front, challenging ideas is not an option, it's part of the job. Teach them that confrontation of concept is not a personal attack. It's okay to think. Secondly, separate ideation from decision making. In brainstorming, every idea is valid. In decision making, you rigorously test them. I think most managers struggle with this point. They fear they will stop new ideas flowing if they start judging them at any stage. But it's okay to take all brainstorming ideas and look at them critically afterwards. Thirdly, diversify input. Invite different perspectives across roles, function, even departments, especially for high stakes decisions. This gives you the opportunity to encourage less heard voices. Cross-functional teams exist to have that multi-angled approach to problems. And lastly, and most critically, speak last as the manager. Your opinion carries weight. Hold it back to avoid anchoring the decision too early. Only too many times in my early career, I started the meeting but summarized the expected outcome. Admittedly, meetings were short, but decision often lacking. Lesson learned. All this has one purpose: normalize the conflict of opinions. Make sure it happens in a respectful and professional environment, yes, but allow for different voices. That means that you too, as a manager and a person, needs to be able to change your opinion. I think I said it in every video, but managers don't have to know everything. It's entirely possible that a very junior member of the team may know more on certain topics than you do. Okay, let's summarize. Groupthink is dangerous, and it isn't always obvious. It doesn't feel like a train wreck, it feels like a smooth ride. That's why it's so dangerous. But if you build the habits we talked about, spotting early signs, encouraging debate, and separating harmony from progress, you'll create a team that makes better decisions together. Because as a manager, your job isn't to keep everyone comfortable. Your job is to help them think critically, creatively, and independently. Now, if this helped you rethink how you manage discussions, stick around. We've got plenty more episodes coming on improving team decision making and other aspects of managerial life. And if there is a topic you'd like me to tackle next, drop in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.
Generate by AI.